It being 5:30, I'll call this special meeting of the Village Board of Trustees to order. Please stand for a moment of silent prayer or reflection, and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwedel?
Here.
Trustee Kazam?
Present.
Trustee Simmons?
Present.
Trustee DeVore?
Present.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Present.
Trustee Reichert?
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. I want to thank everyone for being here for this special meeting. Before we get to comments from the audience, Clerk Turner, I understand that we've received some correspondence.
We do, Mayor. This correspondence to the board reads as follows. Dear Mayor Wigington and trustees, we are writing to respectfully request your consideration of an exception for a lead service line replacement at our new home, 4611 North Constantine Avenue. We understand that the current year's plan prioritizes Paris and London avenues, and we appreciate the need to focus resources. However, we hope you will consider our property as a special case. We have lived in the Heights since 2022, renting 1402 East Samuel Avenue from Dave Williams and Lori Pearl. Because we are committed to remaining long-term residents and investing in the community, we chose to purchase our new home at 4611 North Constantine Avenue and plan to undertake a series of energy efficiency and infrastructure improvements. Following a thorough inspection of the property, we were advised that replacing the lead service line should be our top priority. Our inspector informed us there was an ongoing Heights project to update all lead service lines in the community and encouraged us to reach out. He noted that the upgrades we plan to make to the home systems, while meaningful on their own, will be less impactful if we are unable to address the lead service line at the same time. We would like to compliment Ms. Emily Smezrud on her prompt and clear responses to our initial inquiries. She has outlined two options. One, wait until Constantine is eventually included in a future round of infrastructure updates with no clear year or timeline identified. Or two, replace the service line at our own expense with no reimbursement or cost-sharing mechanism available through the village. Given the significance of this project, we respectfully ask the trustees to consider an exception that would either allow our property to be included sooner or provide reimbursement for the replacement expenses incurred. For your reference, we have enclosed a replacement estimate from Paluska Plumbing. We are aware that the township has, in certain instances, made exceptions to building code and policy requirements in order to support resident attraction and retention. In the same spirit, we hope you will consider our lead service line replacement as part of our broader efforts to improve and modernize the property as we become home-owning residents. Thank you for your time and consideration. We would welcome the opportunity to provide any additional information or to discuss this request further. Sincerely, Nick Warren and Paige Sweet.
Thank you, Clerk Turner. Now we'll come to comments from the audience. If you have a comment, please come to the podium. Give your name and address and try to keep your comments to 5 minutes. Comments from the audience? Comments are going once, twice. Comments are closed. We are now down to Resolution 2026-02, a resolution authorizing the Village of Peoria Heights, Peoria County, Illinois, to submit funding application for financing replacement of lead service lines. Trustee Simmons?
Thank you, Mayor. I make a motion for Resolution 2026-02, a resolution authorizing the Village of Peoria Heights, Peoria County, Illinois, to submit funding application for financing replacement of lead service lines.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Trustee Simmons, seconded by Trustee Weisenberg. Trustee Simmons.
Thank you. I have a series of notes and a couple emails that I think are going to be beneficial to listen to, and then once I've gotten through all the information, it might seem to be a bit of a lot of information, but it's best to have more than none. And then I would like to refer to Mark Lee and Jackie Hudnall. I believe Jackie is with us on conference call tonight.
That's correct.
We are here tonight to determine how much we want to request, up to $10 million in funding for lead service line replacements. IEPA has more available in funding. Our deadline to submit is March 31st, 2026. This is a general blessing. We will know in July what has been determined of our actual grant amount awarded, and then in September, we will send our proposal of the amount needed. And I do want to mention that we expect federal funding. Final year is 2028. Just to share the status, here in the Peoria Heights, total service lines in system is 2,836. Total lines identified as lead, galvanized, or unknown is 1,368. That's 48% of the total service lines. The majority of these are unknown, so it's possible, likely, this number will drop pretty quickly as the village continues inspections. Total estimate costs for all replacements, $17,264,160. In fiscal year 2026, we requested $3,027,000. That is $2,465,000 was received as 100% principal forgiveness. $562,000 was received as a zero interest loan. I'm going to read from an email that was received and very informative. Jackie Hudnall passed on an email from Thomas Bona, and he's the Senior Fiscal Solutions Specialist with Woodard & Kern. Currently funded projects, both the Phase 2 lead service line replacement project and the second lead service line inventory project will be this spring. Estimated remaining lead service line replacements to be funded. The village will have up to 1,350 lead service lines to replace between fiscal year 2027 and fiscal year 2037. Up to, because almost all of them will be unknown material that upon investigation could be fine and not need replacing. Estimated total cost remaining, current estimates adjusting for cost escalation are if we had to replace all 1,350 lines, it would cost $25.7 million over 10 years. That is the worst case scenario. It will likely be less and possibly millions less, but this is what we know now. There will be a minimum amount required to replace per year for those 10 years. The worst case scenario is about $2 million a year, rising slowly to nearly $3 million at the end. IEPA State Revolving Fund, fiscal year 27, phase 3. We had been planning to seek another $3 million, which is $2.5 million in principal forgiveness and $500,000 in 0% interest loan over 40 years. Two recent developments are why we are talking about this fund nomination form deadline that is March 31st. The IEPA emailed saying they have more federal money available this round and could handle requests up to $10 million. Of that, around $3 million would likely be forgiven. Anything above that requested would be in a 0% interest loan over 40 years. Unfortunately, we'll only have about 50 identified lead service lines after this spring's work. So the village would need to fund investigation work to increase how many could be replaced. We expect an IEPA award of $3 million could replace about 200 lead service lines. $5 million could replace 350 lead service lines, and $10 million could replace up to 700 lines. The IEPA State Revolving Fund fiscal year 2028, phase 4, will be probably the final year of federal funding. And I just want to mention that also in Mark Lee's summary email, he discussed with Jackie Hudnall, and Mark Lee shared that Jackie's assuming the total cost to investigate the remainder of the homes to be around $1.1 million. The total principal forgiveness was thought to stay around $2.5 million. Mark shared that if all unknown lines are actually lead, that's a very large cost we can't absorb in short term. And he did share that he knew that we had a huge outlay from the Illinois 29 project coming up that is going to hurt the water fund. Mark, if you want to speak on any of these comments, I really do appreciate your time. Mark also continued to say, if we ask for the extra $7.5 million over 30 years, that's still an extra $250,000 every year in payments. And we wanted to weigh in with Stephanie here and Administrator Sutton to see if the water fund can absorb this cost. Again, tonight is a request for a general blessing. We can request up to $10 million, but we also don't want to appear greedy. We don't know that we'll be awarded that amount. So we're here to determine what we want to do with moving forward on that request.
A few questions, if I may.
Please.
The rate analysis that we did as part of the water capital improvement plan, how does that factor into the rate analysis? Because I know we've delayed some rates or didn't do rates, which now looking back on that was probably something we should not have done, because the water rates fund these expenses.
Yeah.
So how does the additional expenses of these loans factor into the rate analysis? And do we need to refresh the rate analysis to have an understanding on the impact of asking for more money?
Through the water. Go ahead, please.
So I asked that very question on a conference call, what was that? Wednesday, Thursday of last week? So from what I understand, they're gonna do a revised rate analysis, incorporating the figures that Trustee Simmons just gave us. So I did ask, are we keeping up with our rate analysis here? So I do believe that Jackie and her team are, I'm sorry, our team here.
So I believe that our team is going to be working with Illinois Rural Water Association, who does, as part of our dues, offer a water rate analysis for free as part of membership. Okay. So we are reaching out to them to look at this. I can also assure you, Trustee Weisenberg, that the capital improvement plan, those rates had some portion of lead service line replacements, but it did not, I'm not sure how far out it went, and we always knew that we were gonna have to come back and reanalyze and look at everything, because we did things sooner than we were originally going to. Some of the things as a result of doing, like the water treatment plant came up sooner than it was in the capital improvement plan. So other projects have also been pushed further out that could be delayed while we were moving other projects up. So this is definitely a good time to go back and reevaluate that capital improvement plan, adjust it to the current timelines, and then redo the rate analysis as well.
Because I know when we were, sorry, Trustee DeVore, I know when we were, looking at whether we sell the water company or whether we keep the water company, one of the important things for me was that the water company is self-sufficient, that taxpayers should not be subsidizing the water company. And I thought then, and I had great confidence in that rate analysis, because it looked like the water company was going to be able to fund itself. So if it comes to a point where that's no longer the case, that's a little concerning, because I think it puts the taxpayers in a really bad situation if suddenly they're subsidizing the water company, which I'm not saying is happening. I'm just saying I hope that the water rates can fund the water company, because that's the appropriate thing to do for the taxpayers in Peoria Heights. And if it becomes the situation where the water company is no longer able to sustain itself, then I think that, at least in my opinion, that changes the discussion on whether we sell or not. I know that we're not considering that. I'm just saying, if taxpayers constantly have to bail out the water company, then that's a huge issue.
I think that's an extremely fair point. I think that Trustee Simmons, to her credit, presented us this evening with worst-case scenario numbers.
Right.
So I appreciate her giving us, because we need to hear that. That we, in absence of all things, we need to presume worst-case scenario. Now, Trustee Simmons or Administrator Sutton, I don't know if you want to touch on or Superintendent Chandler, you know, these unknowns are the big elephant in the room. As Trustee Simmons said, 48% of our total service lines could be lead.
That's correct.
And so to figure out a way to lower the cost of investigation of whether those are lead or not, I know that Superintendent Chandler, Mark Lee, Administrator Sutton, Clerk Turner, as well as Trustee Simmons were thinking of creative ways
Yep.
to lower the cost of investigation. Trustee Simmons, did you want to hit on that?
I would. This discussion occurred on a conference call, and it was brought to us that we have the option to purchase a hydraulic hydrovac, am I saying it correct, Chris? Trailer?
Yeah.
To
Yep.
do our own investigations. When you look at the number of 1.1 million opposed to Administrator Sutton, the number on the trailer would be 120,000, is that correct?
Correct.
I'm sorry, I think it's 130.
130?
Just to be clear.
Okay, anywhere from 120 to 150. I don't want to quote
It's
myself
definitely not
incorrectly,
150.
but
Yeah, I think we, at one time, we discussed a trade-in at one time, but after we cleared that up on Friday.
renting a machine, the equipment would cost $7,000 a month. And that would exceed what it costs just to purchase the equipment. And our Public Works team could utilize that equipment moving forward for other projects, which is greatly needed. So when you put it in perspective of the numbers, you know, 120,000, 130,000 opposed to 1.1 million speaks volumes when it comes to just owning that equipment.
In my opinion, that's the best route financially, and also, after speaking with Superintendent Chandler, that's also a piece of equipment that we can use beyond this project. And I do know that the water department can absorb this cost. This will come out of water 100%.
Thank you.
So, out of their
That was
reserves.
my next question.
Out of their reserves. So, like I said, after speaking with Superintendent Chandler, I know this is something that will also help in the efficiency in other areas, and he can discuss that if you want to hear that at this point, or we'll talk about it at the next board meeting. I'm not sure tonight's the place for it, but just to put it on your radar.
And the goal is to investigate potholing on our own with the equipment to eliminate a lot of that cost.
Superintendent Chandler, do we have the bandwidth to complete that work on our own?
Well, it definitely would take a couple guys away from our regular crew. That's
Right.
for sure. We would definitely, I think I can't say that we could get them all investigated in a year, but we could get a big chunk of them. But
And know what
people
they are.
need to realize that is gonna, we're talking, it's adding a lot to the
Right.
limited crew we currently have anyway.
You-
But, yeah, it's something that, we all know how to run one of these things. We have a small, very small one right now for our valve trailer. It's just the one we have is only a 2-inch, and this one is a big 4-inch. Digs a lot faster, holds a lot more, get a lot more done without having to empty it and all that stuff. So I
It'll
think
make the
it's,
job easier,
and more efficient.
right?
Do you support the plan of taking this in-house and doing it?
I do, yeah, as long as it is understood, obviously, this is gonna take away from our regular crew. I'm not saying we're gonna plan on getting behind and mowing and all that stuff, but it's gonna be, we're taking away a couple guys to do this over several months to
Weather
get
permitting
it
as
done.
well.
But it will be way more.
Why are we not taking this whole thing in-house? The lead line replacement and everything?
We cannot replace 1,300 lead
There's
lines.
no way.
But we could, if we hired more people,
That's essentially what we're doing, is we're hiring a contractor every year to do that. That's,
if we hired a couple extra guys, don't we have to increase the water department personnel for when the plant comes online?
those
Yeah,
crews.
they'll need A licenses, yes.
Yeah, those crews that come down and do that, you're talking crews of 6, 7, 8 guys.
Okay.
That's doubling the size of our public works right now.
Right.
Okay. I like the idea of saving the money and buying the equipment and bringing it in-house, but I wouldn't want to overload Public Works and have them bail, you know, that's,
I agree 100%. That's why when we had this conversation, I wanted to make sure that we weren't going out on that limb. The one good thing about the mowing, that we are taking different approaches here, we're going back to having it done. You know, I've already contacted a couple companies to work on code enforcement issues that don't tie them down. So we've kind of attacked this at a different angle to help him out, because I know they are a small crew, but I think that will help long-term as well. So, but I know as Superintendent Chandler and I, you know, spoke Friday, that if we do get into that position, he'll give us updates. But I feel confident after speaking with him that they can do this and do it efficiently.
Would it be beneficial to reopen the hiring student help? Is that a liability thing to let them know?
I'll let Superintendent Chandler speak to this, because we have tried that every year, and we're lucky to get one person in the summer.
Well,
You know,
I bring it up, we have a new football coach for next year, who wants to get his team more involved in the community and doing some volunteer work for them and stuff. So this might be a good opportunity to hire a couple of kids to come in based on what the football coaches talked to me about. So something to think
Right.
about. If it alleviated some
Yeah.
stuff for you guys in the summer,
Sure. The unfortunate thing with that has always been they don't start until June. We have to mow a bunch before June.
Yeah.
And they leave at the end of August, and we have to mow a bunch until
Yeah.
November.
So this is all great information, and this will come up on the meeting on April 7th. So keep this in your mind, and if you have any questions, I know Mayor will direct us on the next meeting. But our task at hand tonight, if I may, Mayor, is the general blessing of how much we want to request the IEPA for the funds for lead service lines replacements. And they are offering, I shouldn't say offering, they are sharing that we could request up to $10 million. So what is that number going to be? Are we going to request 7.5 million and not be too greedy? Or should we remain back to what we're used to, requesting 3.5?
I have questions.
Please.
If I'm understanding in your initial explanation of what's going on, even if we were to receive 10 million, we cannot replace enough service lines to equal that amount of money.
The
Correct.
point would be that if we request $10 million, we're hoping that we are going to know with the investigations exactly what that number is, and in September, we can propose to them what we do need to request. Right now, it's just like I mentioned, a general blessing. If you don't ask, you don't know. Then we'll be able to determine later, after the investigations, the unknowns, what we will need to request.
Okay, but
Maybe I'm missing the question.
Superintendent Chandler's telling us that it's gonna be at like a year before,
Well, I will say that if we can get the number, we may not investigate all of them, but we might be able to find that 300 or 400 of them are for sure lead and definitely need to be replaced. Therefore, it would be, that's how much we would request.
And Mark, we spoke a little bit earlier about this. Could you help us with some information that might help Trustee DeVore understand maybe clearer than what I can share?
Sure. The likelihood of us getting 10 million is not great. This is going on, federal funding is ending for the entire country. It's not just Illinois, it's not just Peoria County. And you have cities out there like Chicago that have literally tens of thousands of lines, and they will be asking for the maximum, obviously. Places like Peoria is not an issue, right? That's Illinois American Water, that's private. But you're gonna have communities all around the country asking for more money than normal. That's just what they're gonna do because federal funding is ending for everybody. So everybody's probably gonna be asking for an elevated amount. Does that mean that we would get 10 million? Probably not. Would we get 5 million? Maybe. Like we simply don't know because we don't know how much is gonna be asked. All we know is that everybody is gonna be asking for more than normal. So there's a couple different trains of thoughts we've discussed. Number one, you go for broke, you just ask for the full amount and hope it shows up or hope an elevated amount comes in. The other train of thought is, do you not ask for the moon because they're gonna look at you as being greedy, right? Because everybody's asking for a whole bunch and do you bring it down? We truly don't know what IEPA is gonna say, so that's, I hate to say it's a judgment call, but that's something to kind of consider. if you ask for more than 3 million, will you get more than 3 million? Most likely, right? We just don't know if you ask for 10, if you're actually gonna get 10, or if you're just gonna get the normal 3 that we've always asked for. We simply don't know that.
That was my question. Does that increase our chances if we ask for a smaller amount?
I would say that what you've asked for in the past, because that has been your normal project, right, that's been your normal progression, it's almost impossible you get less than that, right? At the very least, you're gonna get what you've always gotten, which is, well, we've asked for about 3 million, and we're gonna get 2.5 million forgiven, right? That's what you've been doing for years now. You'll continue to get that. I mean, it's extremely doubtful you wouldn't, just because they're offering more money. But the overall forgiveness is capped, right? That's less than 3 million. I think it's it was 2.5, now I think it's like 2.75 or 2.6. It's not a huge difference. But you can get a larger loan. And so, like I said, there's some gray area here. Would I ask for more than 3? I would. Would I ask for 10? I don't know if asking for 10 or 6 or 7 really changes what you get back. I don't know at that point. I would say, if you want to be careful, cautious about it, you're probably asking for something in the middle. You know, in the 5 to 7 range is probably a little bit more likely to happen, and it makes you look like you're being careful. And the other reason for that is when you're asking for 10 million, they're expecting you to be able to place all 10 million. Like we have a place to put all that, right? We need to go do this much work. We have a lot of unknowns. And so we can say that 1,300 of those unknowns are lead. We all know they're not, right? We know there's not gonna be 1,300 lead lines. Chris, as Superintendent Chandler, has done enough of these. He knows that not every single one he goes to is lead. That's obvious. But the exact percentage, we don't know. It could be 50%, it could be 30%, it could be 75%. So that number really is in flux. And so when you know that half of the lines will cost you around 10 million-ish, then does it make sense to ask for half of it this year and then half of the next year, which is last year? And that's kind of gets to be a board decision of, you're gonna have to ask for a lot of money, just how do you break that up?
Mark, I'm sorry. But so, real quickly, I'm sorry, Trustee DeVore. So one of the things that I had asked for during that conference call, and Jackie may be able to do this too, so from the board, from the policymakers' perspective, what we're turning toward is we need either, staff recommendations or consultant recommendations. And so clearly, we're turning to you and Jackie to tell us exactly, from a strategic perspective, does it make sense to go, and I think I described it, hit for the fences or bunt for the base hit. And so, if Jackie, you want to jump in here too, where are you recommending that we go on this?
I would go for a double. I'd probably double what you have already asked for in the past. And then next year, once a whole bunch of these lead service lines or unknowns are taken care of, you'll know the actual amount, and you can go for the full 10 million, and then you can say at that point, we've already investigated, we know we have this many left, we need every single dollar, and we can prove it. That'd be my recommendation.
I agree with Mark. I think that we have identified, the better off we will be set up for in the future to know how much to ask for funding. I think information that we'll need to know kind of this year is a realistic number of investigations that we could do by late September. And the proposed amount of the grant funding and loan we should ask for. And based off hypothetical numbers, if we can investigate a quarter of the unknowns by late September, beyond the plan of 50, I think we could probably expect to see about 200 to 300 confirmed lead lines. And so if you would apply between the 3 million and 5 million for funding for 27, that would be the maximum loan amount of about 2.5 and some change over 40 years. So I think if we did that, we're staying in that safe zone where we would hate to apply for more funding than what we could really accomplish and identify, because that would commit you to a higher loan level. And if we got this 7 million, or 10 million, I don't think we could do 700 verified lead lines in 1 year. So
Thank you, Jackie.
I think our recommendation falls in line close with Mark, anywhere between 3 to 5 if you wanted to push it a little bit out and be a little ambitious. 6 to 7 would be ambitious.
I don't want us to ask for more money than what we can complete work, because I think that looks tacky. Maybe that's not the right word to use, but in other times we've asked for money or grants or whatever, it's like, don't ask for something that you can't complete a match for or whatever. So if we can't do $8 million worth of work, I don't want to ask for $8 million. So like, if you're telling me that we can do $6 million worth of work, if we get it, then I'm more on board with that. That's kind of where I stand. I do have one other thing. So maybe I am just misunderstanding or being naive about the identifying of these lines and things like that, but I do feel like this is a little rushed. Like, we've been talking about lead service lines and identifying these lines for multiple years. We've been talking about these loans for multiple years. Why is it that we're sitting here now at a special meeting like, oh, we have to ask for this money right now when we haven't had an update on it? And how are we not gonna be in this position next year?
So I guess the best answer for that is, Woodard and Curran has they're a pretty large team, and they have some connections that, my firm is 200 people, we don't have some of the connections they have. They got some information literally last week that said, we've been talking to EPA and they're recommending going big this year. And we've also always known that federal funding ended in 2028, right? Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean there's no money available. That just means your 0% loans are going away. So once you go back to IEPA funding, you're going back to your 1 to 2%. Does it cost the village more than the 0%? Of course, 1 to 2% is more than zero, but it's not like all of a sudden the funding just vanishes and there's no way to get loans for this work. The difference is having that EPA actually telling them, ask for more money this year. Like, there's more money available, ask for more. That's a little bit different than just knowing the federal funding is coming to an end. Actually, them being told that says, well, okay, if we're getting told to actually ask for more money, then, and we know we're gonna spend it, then why don't you? It's 0% loan, 0% interest. So I'd say that's the biggest change, and we won't be in this position this year because now we already know the information. Next year, we're gonna know, hopefully, however exactly many lines we have to replace. We'll have a really good idea, just already replacing a whole bunch this year, what it's gonna cost. We'll be able to ask for just about what the right amount is to replace everything else. If we don't have the full, like if it's gonna cost us 15 million, and they're only gonna give us 10 at the most, well, we know that's gonna get kicked on into future years, and we'll start doing it, year after year, just slowly attacking it. So I would say that's the reason there's a rush on this is because, well, number one, it's due March 31st. That's when we have to tell them what we're gonna do. And because now there's such a larger amount we could be asking for, that's where we came to this.
Okay, whose responsibility is it to make sure that we hit this deadline? So
A
next.
larger amount was proposed.
Okay, so.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Jackie.
So when we started the lead service life program in Peoria Heights, when Woodard and Kern started, we started applying in 2023. And I believe this kind of predates me, but I believe there was a year that funding applications were missed. So we kind of doubled our funding application to get caught up. So Peoria Heights was aggressive at the 3 million loan application to try to get ahead of what we missed the year prior. And so it was kind of just scheduled out that we would keep on pace with the 3 million. And that was kind of the anticipated dollar amount that we had earmarked, for this application in particular for 2027, just based off, historical data of what we've applied for before, how our lead service line, it has been mapped out over the years. And then it was kind of the heads up from the IEPA that, hey, more is available. We're encouraging people to apply for more this year since the federal dollars run out in 2028. That being said, you still have until 2037 to come into compliance. It's just the known money from the federal the last year will be 2028. And so we're in Peoria Heights they're in a pretty good position now by, getting rid of all the toxic pipes, and we're kind of ahead of the curve, and you're doing more for your village than a lot of cities are doing for theirs. So we're on a good track and kind of want to keep the momentum up, but we also want to know what's realistic and work within those parameters.
Okay, so for next year, whose responsibility is it? Like, is it the mayor's responsibility? Is it Trustee Wigginton's? Whose responsibility is it to make sure that we don't miss the deadlines on these loans? Like, who brings it up?
Basically, we had a conversation. Go ahead, Jackie.
Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Basically,
Go
I've
ahead, Mark, if
been
you
getting
want.
more involved in the water conversations, and since I'm the one standing here basically for the board meetings, that's gonna kind of be on me. We were never worried about missing the deadline. We could always turn the application in, but when we started talking about the dollar amounts, the mayor and trustee Simmons were like, that's a large amount, we have to talk to the board about this. And
That's
so
correct.
we called for the special meeting because we're changing things and it's a large dollar amount and it didn't seem appropriate to go that direction.
When
without
were you
talking.
notified that they were saying that we should increase the amount this year?
Actually, last Wednesday, the day of
Yeah.
your board meeting.
Yeah.
So, and I think one of the things that maybe had not been clear was that historically, when we ask for money, we always have the board approve that ask, even if we're not accepting the money. So I think for some, that was not necessarily clear. And so now it is that when we ask for money, we always have time to run it through the board of trustees rather than have a single decision maker like myself or someone else making that call for the board. I always want board input, especially when we're all concerned about this important issue.
Oh, I have last question. So we've already taken 3 million, a portion of that was forgiven, and we have a zero interest loan for $562,000, correct?
That's the number that I have, yes.
Okay, so if we request 6 million, we would potentially be tripling that amount, right?
You can project, let's just say conservatively, 2.5 million is your forgiveness. We don't know the exact amount yet. So you'd be looking at 3.5 million over a 30 or 40-year loan.
Okay, and when do payments on this start?
Typically about a year after the loan gets approved.
Okay, so if we you said 2.5 million would be forgiven.
That's what we've been having forgiven thus far, yes.
Okay.
They do they do suspect that loan forgiveness amount will go up, as Mark mentioned earlier. The IEPA federal just has not released what that is going to go up. So we don't know if it's going up to 2.6 or 2.5. It might just move a little bit.
And they won't tell us ahead of time.
What's the amortization on this?
This is a 0%.
No, what's the amortization?
Oh, it's a 30 or 40 year, your choice.
30, which one, 30 or 40?
I believe
30
you can
to
go up to
40 is
40
what
if
it
you want.
says.
Depends on the village, but 40 years your max.
Well, if it's 0%, wouldn't we go 40?
Yeah, the village is called, but yeah,
Okay, all right.
that's the cheapest
So it's
route.
a 40, I'm just trying to figure out how much we're gonna be paying a month off of per million that we're borrowing, right? I mean, that'd be a pretty fair ask.
Well, at some point, someone said if we took 10 million, it would be an additional 250,000 per year in payments.
I was basing that off a 30-year. 40-year, I think you're down to
Yeah.
200,000.
Yeah, I mean,
Divided by 12, it's like $2,000.
and that comes out of the water budget?
Which is why we need to see the rate analysis. Do we have Stephanie, do we have like an estimated timeline on how long it will take to, update that rate analysis?
We don't, but I did pull up the CIP in order to give you some
Yeah.
specific answers that I think you might find reassuring. So I'm looking under the debt financing plan for the capital improvement plan, and it was always assumed that a certain amount of these projects were going to be financed.
Sure.
And actually, specifically with the lead service line inventory and replacement, it was assumed that it would be an SRF loan at an interest rate of 2.5% with 20 years repayments.
Okay.
So we're already doing way better than that. And they were also projecting a 49% principal forgiveness. At this point in time, they were anticipating that we would only have done about, the fiscal years are off a little bit, so somewhere between $800,000 and $1.2 million was expected to be our cost at this point, none of which we have actually paid because we've already had the principal forgiveness and we've already had the no interest loan. So we're already $1.2 million ahead of this capital improvement schedule.
Okay, that's great.
To make this even better, this particular rate analysis and everything that we're doing includes that the water treatment plant was going to be funded, hold on, let me pull that back up. The water treatment plant was entirely funded by an SRF loan, again, at 20 years and 2.5%.
And so the water rate's already built in to cover that.
And the water rate already covers all of that, which we're actually getting, significant amount of money of that being principal forgiveness. So the water rates definitely need to be reevaluated, but from my quick look at this, I already feel much more comfortable about our water rates where they are right now. We have plenty of time to do those adjustments, and I think Trustee Weisenberg, you're gonna see that the water company will definitely be able to continue to pay
Outstanding.
for
And I
itself.
know when we
That's wonderful,
discussed the
Stephanie.
capital improvement plan, I know that we discussed the lead service lines and built
Yes.
that in. So that's why I was
Yes.
curious on how it would absorb the increased cost.
And that's why I went and pulled the
Yeah,
document.
I appreciate that.
Yes, of
I didn't
course.
bring my laptop, so I'm flying blind.
And I
here.
remember we were all very confident, so.
Yes, of course.
Okay, I guess that's all my questions, and I guess I might stay the same. Like, I really don't feel like we should ask for more than what we can accomplish. So like,
hear that.
I would be around 6 is where I would feel comfortable.
I hear that.
Same here, same
Yeah,
here.
6 is where I'm saying.
As long as you guys don't see that affecting water rates moving forward.
Well, it's already in there. We've
Yeah,
already built it in.
If it's already baked in,
Yeah.
then, yeah. Because I don't think we should pass a water rate increase onto our citizens because of,
I mean, personally, I think the cost of whatever the cost of maintaining the system should be what the water rates are. Where we've gotten trouble in the past is the rates have not kept up with the infrastructure. And then now people got brown water and they constantly complain. So, I don't think we should make the mistakes of the past. Whatever it costs to run the water company is what American Water would charge, and I don't think we should fall behind, which I don't think we are.
And
I
we
feel-
are still behind market standards.
Yeah.
And that's, what we do is, as a municipality, as compared to Illinois American, we're not building in the cost to the
Someone
dividend
jot.
to the,
Someone jot.
or dividends to,
Right.
shareholders or things like that. And to Trustee Weisenberg's point, I think you're 100% right. There have been mistakes made by elected officials managing a municipal water system because, let's face it, we all are users of that water system, and our neighbors are users of that water system. Our voters are users of that water system. So it makes it difficult as an elected official to manage a water system where you're basically impacting the people who, but I think, again, this board should be very proud that against that backdrop, several years ago, we took the 90-degree turn to effectively manage this water system and bring it back to where it needs to be. And so I don't have any qualms with, what Trustee Weisenberg and what Trustee DeVore are saying, is that we build the cost into managing the water system into the rates, just like anybody else who would, in the corporate field, would do as well.
Right.
And it's a new concept in Peoria Heights that is just a few, years old, but this is the way it should be done.
Right, and just to Trustee Steiner's point, we should be frugal. We should watch those rates. And I think, taking the discovery in-house is just testament to our desire to keep costs down, and those costs will keep costs down for the water customers as well.
I would absolutely agree with you because water rates affect people regardless of social status or if they're on fixed income or not. We increase our water rates, it's gonna hit the elderly, it's gonna hit the disabled, it's gonna hit everybody equally across the board. So I think we really need to be conscious of that and make sure that we're thinking, which has been, from what I've seen, everything we've been doing so far. But this is what gives me a little bit of a heartache here, is that we're making these decisions with a couple days' notice, and we really don't know the story behind it. We don't have, a meeting or two to catch up beforehand on this, or even, this is something that's brand new to me that we're trying to make this decision of.
Unfortunately, with the
What we're going to be doing
IEPA,
moving forward here. So it's, I understand there's certain things that happen, but we got to make sure that we're ahead of this moving forward, and just, like the $50,000, thing that we had come up 2 meetings ago that they needed for the water plant. I'm not gonna balk at that because I know we need it, but just moving forward, let's try to get a little bit more cohesiveness so that we can understand these decisions a little bit better, because it does make, you know, this is not my department, this is not something I look over every day, but I still I share the responsibility of it, so give me the opportunity to learn a little bit more here moving forward.
And I think an important thing for those listening at home is that, you know, we've done great strides to improve the water service. The filtration plant
Absolutely.
is going to be night and
Absolutely.
day, and we're taking lead out of the water system
We have
at no
100
cost to them, which
we
is a
have
lot of
135.
municipalities aren't
Yep.
doing. So I think this board deserves a lot of credit, and this administration for taking this on and also looking at ways to save the water customers money.
Absolutely.
If I may speak, that I know Mayor and myself, those who are on that conference call, it was uncomfortable having to have that conversation, but a special session meeting was designed to be able to bring it to the board without us trying to make a decision, because there's no way we would do that on our own. Am I correct, Mayor? That's exactly how it is.
Yes, that's correct.
And to speak on the fact that we've already replaced 135 lead lines at no cost to the residents speaks volumes. We should keep the momentum going. We're going to get this project done, and this is how we're going to need to do that. Tonight is, again, a general blessing on what we can ask for, and then again in July, they will determine what we are going to be awarded, and then in September, we will then give them our final proposal. So this is the fundamentals of that process. And with the IEPA, when just contacting us in such short notice, this is what we're held with, to make a decision with. And it's not at anybody's fault or at anybody's blame on the timing. It's unfortunate that we have to, you know, be presented it this way, but now we're at the point where we have to make a decision, because the deadline is March 31st of this month.
Stephanie, do you have the capital improvement plan pulled up?
Yes, I do.
I'm sorry, I should have brought it myself. When in that timeline did it say that we were gonna be at like market rates? Do you remember, was it like there was like a tag, do you remember what I'm talking about? Like, there was like a tagline, because we were still so far behind like market rate, like what the market average was.
I remember what you were talking about, but I cannot see it quickly in this document.
Okay, I'll look it up.
I
Remember
believe,
that
it-
conversation. It was
I
like-
believe it was something like, in 5 years, we will still be below where Illinois American is currently.
Today,
I
and-
believe that's what they said.
So-
not factoring in their increases. So,
Yeah, if they didn't increase.
right, from what I understand, we'd always be under
Because they're-
both American Water and our local, other communities. We compared ourselves to, what was it, Bloomington? It wasn't just American Water, there were several
Yeah, it
communities.
was like an analysis.
Well, it's important to note that Illinois American is, like you said, for profit. Our water company is not. You know, we don't have that extra layer of investors that we have to appease, so.
So it sounds like I have a consensus on a number, so I'll entertain a motion to amend Section 2 to 6 million.
I'll
Second,
make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by trustee Simmons and seconded by trustee Steinwettle to amend from 10 to 6. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Yes, Mayor, just a second. I want to make sure I get this second. Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg?
Aye.
Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Okay, that amendment passes. We're now back to the amended motion. Any more discussion on this? Hearing none, Clerk Turner, would you call the roll?
Trustee Steinwaddle?
Aye.
Trustee Simmons?
Aye.
Trustee DeVore?
Aye.
Trustee Weisenberg? Trustee Reichert?
Aye.
Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, and thank you, Jackie, for calling in, and Mark for being here. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, yeah.
Trustee
I
Weisenberg?
know there's no miscellaneous business here, so I'll make this quick. The correspondence we got at the beginning of the meeting, is that something that we're going to discuss, and how do we want to proceed, or has the village already made the decision?
The village has not made a decision on that, but I'm happy to discuss it.
Like,
If-
I understand we couldn't accommodate every request of everyone. I get like lead in our service, our lines, let's get it replaced right now, but I understand there's got to be a schedule. My preference would be if that there was room in the schedule and if the village could make it work. But I understand if we do it one, we have to do it for another request, so I just want to be open to the idea, not necessarily that we have to do it, but.
Yeah, I hear you 100%. Trustee Simmons, did you have anything to offer on that?
I do. I do appreciate the correspondence that we received, bringing the awareness. Under the circumstances, I also want to commend Emily for her response, very professional, and I have to agree with her. While we are making the lead service line replacements this round, we're not going to be able to do that and pull them off that list, because that list is prepared prior to. So if we were to do that work, my recommendation would be for that resident to replace their private side. Then we would be required by the state to replace the public side within 30 days, with a grace period of 120, weather permitting and other circumstances. So, but we would not be in a place to reimburse them for the private side. It would be at their cost on the private side, and then we would have to come in and automatically do the public side.
Question for you, Trustee Simmons. If we're gonna assume the cost for the private side for everybody else, and their quote doesn't exceed what we've been paying for everyone else, why wouldn't we reimburse? I mean, it takes work off our end.
They would go in the process of the list. Because then if you put someone because of a letter firsthand, then you may end up with 100 letters of other individuals that may want to have their lead lines replaced right away as well. And then you also have to look at who do we pick first? People with young children, the elderly, you know, and then you get into demographics and it starts a process. We already have a process, if I may, with the list.
How
And
was the list determined?
I understand, like, not letting them skip the
Yeah.
list, and so someone that we already had scheduled this year. But if all we're doing is writing the check and reimbursing them, it doesn't affect our schedule at all. So, and if we're covering the cost anyway, and their quote doesn't exceed what we're paying per property, what's the downside of reimbursing them? I'm not asking to skip the line, I'm asking about the
Right.
reimbursement. What's the
Right.
downside?
Then we would have to go
If we're paying
back.
for it anyway.
My perception would be, then we would have to go back to anybody that had their private line replaced because of plumbing issues, and they would need to be reimbursed as well.
But
I'm just
we're
looking
doing
at
it.
from that perspective.
I think that's a bit extreme. I don't think we would have to do that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying, if we wait 2 years, like for this constantly, every year this gets more expensive. So if they can do it this year privately, it may be cheaper for us than waiting 2 or 3 years down the line. So why wouldn't we reimburse them? If we're going to pay for it anyway, and their bid doesn't exceed what we've identified each property to be, then what I'm understanding is what is the downside of reimbursing, besides it being cheaper
Yeah,
for us?
I hear you. I
I
hear
feel like
that.
Mark has something to say.
The only thing I'll mention to that is, when we're doing a project with 100 lines, right, you're now taking that entire mobilization, all the work, whatever, and now you're doing for over 100 lines. If you ever have somebody come in and just do a single line and leave, that cost is gonna be much higher. It's almost impossible for them to get the same rate that the village will if you're doing 100 lines.
Did she include, Stephanie, did she include her quote in the
It was
correspondence?
$6,000.
What are we paying right now per year?
Right
Per-
about that.
So
Anywhere
it's
to
not more
7 to
expensive.
10.
That is also just their side. They're not repairing a road.
They're not doing the public side.
They're
There's
just doing the
private.
yard side.
Yeah,
Just the yard side?
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And depending on the scope of the work, it could run anywhere from 7 to 10 grand,
Okay.
a lead service line replacement.
Where is Constantine on the list
And
of,
that could also involve sidewalk, you know, pavement, lots of other things that, reconstruction. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. Where is Constantine on the list? So Vincent and
That-
Paris are next, like,
We do not determine
Yeah.
that. I'm not sitting here making a list of the ones I want to get done. It's presented to the EPA. It follows a certain track they have.
and the EPA
And they
is
figure,
determining.
they approve it.
So
Yes.
the EPA is determining which street goes next?
Mark, if you have anything on, or Jackie.
I'm pretty sure Woodard and Curran is, there's metrics that you're supposed to use as far as medium household income, higher population of elderly or children. So normally that's the demographic. That's kind of the things that you use to determine which sections of the town you want to go. So the nice thing about having them do it is that it's completely off of the board. They're doing it completely off of metrics, and they just present what should be next in line according to the IEPA metrics to the IEPA to approve.
Jackie, do you know when Constantine is on the list?
I do not have that information in front of me. I can get with our engineer that's in charge of that, but that's exactly what Mark had said, is that, you know, when we submit to the IEPA, everything is done in order based off need. And so that's how we set up the areas in which we're going to be targeted first. So I would have to check with Kyla, the engineer who's in charge of this, and see where that is on the list.
And if I understand too, that if we were to do that work, the public side, after the resident changed the lines on their private side, that would come out of the water fund, not out of the lead service line replacement fund that we're requesting now.
Okay.
So Mayor, just, I'm just trying to, I understand wanting to get the lead service line replaced. Maybe we only reimburse them what it would cost for the private side. Just an idea. So like say if our project is $10,000 and, you know, maybe we reimburse them $3,000 to do on their side. We come into our side for whatever it comes out to be, and then.
The only thing I'm thinking here is that the village is hopefully strategically taking these $3,000, $4,000 per household and stretching it over 40 years, not right now. I don't know that the village would have the money on hand to start doling out checks to people that replace their lines, if that makes sense. And I know people in the past have decided on their own to just pay for it. They're, you know, they're like, we want it replaced, so we're going to do it.
Right.
And then we went and replaced the other side.
Yeah. No, I understand that, I understand that completely, Superintendent Jeff.
But it will be replaced by the village within 10 years.
No, I understand that, but when you're told that you have lead in your lines, you know, some people may say, oh, let's get it out, you know, as quickly as possible. I understand it can't happen immediately, but asking a customer who's paying for this service line to do it themselves and fund it themselves and also pay for it, I think for the village to say, go pound sand is, I think, inappropriate.
That's not my term.
Because
I was
she's
just
paying
saying.
for it.
Yeah.
You know, her water rates are paying for this, no matter if it gets done now or in 5 years. She's paying for it, and we're also saying, okay, go ahead and pay for it yourself and get it done, but also pay for it in your water
So are all
rates.
the other people that don't have lead lines.
No, I understand that.
They're paying for it as well.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
I guess my point was that even if we had 10 more individuals write a letter and ask the same request, and that's money that's going to have to come directly out of the water fund, every single letter that we receive, and depending on the notification of the resident, as soon as we receive notification, we have 30 days to do the public side.
I have a question, Superintendent Chandler. When we have to do the private side, because they've changed it, does that come out of what we're requesting, or does that come out of
No.
our water?
You're
fund?
saying this scenario here?
Yeah, if
Like
they
if we
went
end
ahead
up
and privately
replace-
had it done, and then you had to go in within 30 days.
Yes, that will not come out of the loan that we're getting
It
for
would
this
come
year.
out
It
of-
comes
it would
out of
just-
the water
It
It
fund.
would come out of the water fund for
Right.
the,
And
for the public
And I
side.
will state, if we start getting a lot of these requests, there's no saying that we personally are going to be able to keep up with them.
Right.
We might have to start hiring a contractor to
While we
replace
want them to
these.
do
Yeah, and
investigations.
and I wouldn't say skip the line. I don't think it's appropriate to skip the line and put more work on you guys. That's not what I was saying. I said if they wanted to take it on themselves, the reimbursement part, which wouldn't do anything, you guys wouldn't have to keep it with anything, just sign a
Well,
check.
we have to replace the other side
Right.
within 30 days, so we have to do it
And it'll be a
if they
cost.
change it
Yeah.
out.
So a lot to think
Yeah.
about, it sounds like.
One more question.
Okay.
Mayor, real quickly. Trustee Simmons, last year, did we do more than we originally had planned last year? I thought there was something we did more.
We had 3 extras that we ended up with contingency money.
Okay,
So we wanted to utilize all those funds that was available to get that work done.
if
as
that
much as
happens
possible.
again this year, could we put this property on that
It
list?
automatically went to the next list, which we have a backup
It
list for
pushes
the
it,
next
yeah.
track.
Yeah.
And it automatically goes to that next list.
Okay,
So Jackie, if you could talk to the engineer and email us or email the mayor or something, just letting us know where Constantine falls on that list, I think that might answer some of these questions.
Yeah. And I
Yeah,
noticed,
and I'm sorry, just to touch back on what you were previously discussing, the money that you get from the IEPA for any lead service line cannot go back to reimburse your water fund. So say the water fund would pay for a private line to be replaced, the IEPA money has to be done by the contractor that was hired. So you can't reimburse that loan, or you can't reimburse a water fund. So it's important to kind of keep that money where it was intended for through the IEPA.
thank you.
Thank you all. It sounds really good discussion on that, and I'm glad that so many of us are as passionate about changing these water lead service lines and galvanized steel, and it's definitely something that we are also, all of us are eager on the board to do it. It's so I'm glad it's shared across this community. So with that, Trustee DeVore.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Trustee DeVore, seconded by Trustee Reichert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I understand. Right, right.